philosophically, if you look back, we have always said that the I doesn't exist, you know. Da, you know, da yomare. There's no I. There's no, and then you create a culture that's similar to that, you know, where nobody wants to, you know, have an opinion different than what is already there, or where nobody wants to challenge an opinion, you know, in a healthy way, because we have been successful at creating a mass. So it's like a beautiful garden with only one kind of flowers. So I think we need to have more different kinds of flowers, some with thorns, some smooth, you know, some with different color. I think that's what, that would be, I think the actual diversity would be to have a diverse idea, you know, not just on skin color or that. This is just a basic thing, but real diversity comes from diversity of ideas, you know. So I think I think Tibetan, I'm confident that with respect to skills and all, there's so skillful Tibetan artists, and their very nature is into debates and all. So I think we just have to give a little bit more of a push to encourage, you know. I feel quite proud and confident that what we as a Tibetan contemporary artists have to show is very unique, and we have just scratched the surface of what we could produce, or of what we could bring in the comparative art world, right? You look at Chinese artists also, you know? I mean, you're talking about the population is like almost what, 1.5 or 6 billion people, whereas Tibetans only 6-7 million. And then, I mean, we might not be better than them, but we are obviously not less of what we have produced, you know. We are not worse than them too, you know. And lots of the artists that I see, Tibetans, very individual artworks. Each artwork is quite different from one another. It's not like they're we have a small kitchen but a really good heat, you know. You really need to create a bridge where we can have the Western, European, all these countries' knowledge into Tibetan language. I think this hasn't been focused too much, and that's why. Otherwise, I think there will be. Why not? In such age, I think there should be hundreds and hundreds of Gedichumbe. Roa. And his problem was that he has to travel to those countries, you know, to learn. Whereas now, I mean, the greatest thing that we could have is books, you know. You can travel world around through that book. And once, if you don't have any of those books in Tibetan language, you're closing all the world's library to them. And how do you expect somebody to be a scholar when you don't encourage translation of those kind of books? One problem, that's the one biggest problem I feel, that equal translation of Western knowledge into Tibetan language. We have only focused on one unidirection where we are translating everything that's in Tibetan into Western language, which is very important, should do that, but at the same time we also have to focus on, you know, making it a complete circle. Right? I think we'll have bigger problem, I think. So your question is like, being a Tibetan artist, do you feel responsible, or do you feel the responsibility of to the Tibetan cause, though, right? Tibetan struggle.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I think I think these two can be combined into one sentence and say, being a Tenzing Rigdol, right, do you feel responsible for your life? So for me, Tibet is not a separate part of me. You know, my identity is looped or linked with Tibet. You know, I'm a product of Tibet, what has happened to Tibet, the consequences of what Chinese did to Tibet. I'm the product of it. So I really cannot separate. So it's almost like being an artist is not a profession, I think. Being an artist is who you are. And if I am a Tibetan, this is just a natural thing, I think. It's nothing political, though, you know. So I talk about what has happened to Tibet. I talk about what's happening in Tibet, you know. So these things are just part of me. And yeah.
And do you always see yourself as an artist and work on that line to this whole cause? Or do you sometimes see yourself as just Tibetan and just do nothing kind of feelings about being artist? And
no,
it's like Van Gogh is like different, you know, it's completely one thing.
Yeah, I think every artist is like that. I think you cannot switch on and off of the way you look at things.
Yeah.
It's always going to happen. And
Tibetans don't understand that.
yeah, and for them it's like, you know, it's more like work. 10 o'clock, get up and paint. 5 o'clock, take off. It's not going to happen like that. You know, when you're painting, if there's a really genuine dialogue going on with the canvas, you keep painting, you know. There's no such thing as, oh, now you stop, now you be a family man, now you be this. No, it's not going to work like that. So I think for me, art is who you are, I think, you know. For me, being an artist is being yourself in its fullest form, and always trying to learn something new. So when it comes to, I think, responsibility and all those things, I mean, I think it's a big word, but you're just being yourself, and everything else just follows that. I think in life, everything is addiction. Everything, you know, like the cigarette. Everything is addiction. So somebody smart would get addicted to something that will make their life more full, you know. So that's why I think art also is, for me, it's addiction. I think there's a point where if you don't make artwork, you get agitated, you get angry, you get restless, you know. Those things, I think, are a good proof, I think, of now you have been fully ordained as an artist, you know. So I think, yeah, get addicted to some good stuffs, you know. When you look at the history of Tibetan art, you realize that historically the artists were given such a high regards or respect. They even gave the title Tulku, which basically means the manifested one from the divine realm or something like that. So you have all the art movements that has been named after the artists, you know. If you say Chigang Luk Lawena, Chiukangpa is the artist, you know. Menri Lawena, Menla Tundup is the artist, you know. And then Kenluk is Konga Kenzichumu, the artist, you know. And they were all given the title like Tulku and all those things. So this is the time where 15th, 16th century time where artists were really given the due respect, and so this tradition has lost. You know, I'm not saying all the contemporary artists should be called tulku, but what I'm saying is this is, one has to recognize how we have taken the down path when it comes to art. You know, we have really lost the artistic integrity. You know, and that's the sad part. And also, I think we have to really pay attention to the importance of art. I think once, I believe Tolstoy said that if a country, you can recognize the country's power by looking at two things. One is if they have good streets, another thing is if they respect the artists. So the streets and everything, I believe he was talking about the material power. And I think the respect to the artist, he's talking about the ideological power, the power of mind. When you have those two things together, then only he says that one can recognize that country as having achieved a good standard. So we really need to focus on that also, I think. In a very deeper level, to respect art is really to respect the individual expression. And I think most of the democratic constitutions in all over the world, they place so much emphasis on the freedom of expression. And this has to, because this has the power to change, because it opens up debate. It opens up the possibility of achieving a solution, you know, and it opens up all kinds of possibility, you know. And in the end, I think art is all about infinite possibilities, you know, and anything can happen, you know. So all these things, I think, if you don't pay attention and say, oh, art is just a luxury, they're only looking at it in a product-oriented way, you know. Art has begun even before the first brushstroke has been made on the canvas, you know. It is the idea, you know. It is the belief in one's own opinion. Those things are powerful, I think. Those things are, this is where we have problem with China, because the Chinese, I sometimes joke and say there's only probably 12 or 13 Chinese, you know, and there's 1.2 or 5 slaves, you know. It's not a country, you know, because there's no individual expression in their country, you know. There are no, I mean, so imagine the kind of world that would create, you know. Everybody would just follow, you know, you know, everybody are so fearful, anxious, you know. This kind of world you create when people are not allowed to express. So we also need to focus on that. And we have people expressing, but we need to push it more, bring more individuals.